Hello students, I hope you are all fine and in good health. In this audio presentation, I will be continuing from page number 32. As you know, now that American prisoner of war was given shelter in the house by Sadao and Hana, and the servants they were totally against it. Even the babysitter Yumi was reluctant to wash the white man, and Hana did the needful. Now let's continue. While she was thinking these thoughts, though not really liking the man better now that he was no longer a child, she kept on washing him until his upper body was quite clean. But still, despite the fact that Yumi declined to wash this particular white man, Hana went on washing the upper part of his body, the chest part, until it was quite clean. But she dared not turn him over, because if she turned him over, then that gun wound will be visible and she might feel uncomfortable by seeing it. So she is not eager to turn him over, and she is desperately waiting for her husband. Where was Sadao? See, it is written, where was Sadao? She was desperately, as I told you all right now, that she was desperately waiting for her husband. Now her anger was ebbing, and she was anxious again, and she rose, wiping her hands on the wrong towel. Now she was so much anxious, and she got so much uh, nervous also at the same time. She went on wiping her hands with the wrong towel. Then, lest the man be chilled, she put the quilt over him, and then she thought that this man might feel a bit cold. Then she put the quilt over his body. Sadao, she called softly. He had been about to come in when she called. When she called, by that time Sadao already entered. His hand had been on the door, and now he opened it. She saw that he had brought his surgeon's emergency bag, and that he wore his surgeon's coat. That means Sadao came totally ready to do the operation. He brought his medical kit bag. Along with that, he was wearing the surgeon's coat also. You have decided to operate, she cried. Yes, he said shortly. He turned his back to her and unfolded a sterilized towel upon the floor of the tokonoma. It is the flower vase, we can say, and put his instruments out upon it. So he put his instruments there on the tokonoma. One by one, he needed those medical instruments to operate, because now he decided to operate on this man. Fetch towels, he said. She went obediently, but how anxious now, to the linen shelves and took out the towels. There ought also to be old pieces of matting, so that the blood would not ruin the fine floor covering, because now Sada will do the operation. Again, blood will come out and it might ruin the floor matting. So she decided to she decided to uh, give a bit of a matting on it, or covering on it, so that it might not ruin the carpet or the floor matting of the room. So what she did, she went out to the back veranda, where the gardener kept strips of matting with which to protect delicate shrubs on cold night, and took an armful of them. So she went outside. The gardener had kept some matting or some covering, because the delicate shrubs on cold night, in order to protect them, the gardener used a bit of a layered covering or matting, we can say. So she went outside and she brought a handful of it. But as you will know, you know it by this time, that it will be of no use, because the room will be full of blood, because now the operation will be undertaken. So I move on to the next line in the next paragraph. But when she went back into the room, she saw this was useless, because blood already started flowing by. The blood had already soaked through the packing in the man's wound and had ruined the mat under him. Blood already started flowing, and it had ruined the mat that was placed under him. "Oh, the mat," she cried. "Yes, it is ruined," Sadao replied, as though he did not care. "Help me to turn him," he commanded her. But Sadao was not at all very much interested in that. Very casually, he told Hana, "Yes, it is ruined," because the blood will come out because he is operating on this man, and he instructed Hana to turn him or help Sadao to turn him over. She obeyed him without a word, and he began to wash the man's back carefully. And again, Sadao went on washing the back of the man very carefully. Now the gun wound will be visible. "Yumi would not wash him," she said. Now, while Sadao was washing the back of that person, at that time Hana told Sadao that Yumi was reluctant to wash the white man. "Did you wash him then?" Sadao asked, not stopping for a moment his swift conscious movements. "Yes," she said. Now, in reply to that, Sadao asked Hana that if she declined uh, your orders of washing the man, then who had done it? Have you washed him? Then, in reply to that, Hana told Sadao yes. Then Sadao was actually talking with Hana, but at the same time, he was swiftly rubbing or washing the back of the man at the same time. He was not stopping his movements at all. He was a very experienced doctor, and he was now involved with saving the life of this person. So I am moving on. He did not seem to hear her, but she was used to his absorption when he was at work. Now, the important thing is that Hana was well aware of this fact that when Sadao was involved with a particular work, he doesn't listen to what is going on outside or here and there. He is so much absorbed in his work, and the same scene was seen here by Hana when she found Sadao was slowly absorbed in his work, and he is not paying any attention to whatever is going on other side. She wondered for a moment if it mattered to him what was the body, what was the body upon which he worked so long, as it was for the work he did so excellently. Now, the important thing is that Sadao was a surgeon, a medical doctor by profession. So, working with the human body is something that Sadao preferred throughout his medical career. "Will you have to give the anesthetic if he needs it?" he said. "I," she repeated blankly, "but never have I. How can I give the anesthesia?" Hana told, a bit shocked at what Sadao asked her, because she never ever had given it before. He was taking out the packing now, and the blood began to flow more quickly. He peered into the wound with the bright surgeon's light fastened on his forehead. There was a helmet he was wearing, Sadao, with a light on it, just like the coal miner when they enter the dark alleys of the collieries. They have a helmet with a light on it. Similarly, Sadao also was wearing a helmet with a light on it, by which Sadao can see. While he will do the operation and all those, the bullet is still there. Okay, so Sadao located that the bullet is still inside the body. He said with cool interest, "Now I wonder how deep the rock wound is. If it had not too deep, it may be that I can get the bullet. But the bleeding is not superficial. He has lost much blood." Now, the important thing is that obviously the bullet is inside the body, but apart from that, he was injured by the sharp rocks. So, this bullet had to be taken out. But at the same time, a lot of blood came out of his body. This man had obviously lost a lot of blood. At this moment, Hana choked. He looked up and saw her face the color of sulfur. "Don't faint," he said sharply. He did not put down his exploding instrument. "If I stop now, the man will surely die. So please be with me. And please help me use the anesthesia on him, and don't faint. I know I am operating on this man. If you faint now, then obviously I had to stop the work, and in that case this man would die, because it is not possible for everyone to see an operation. For the doctors, they are very habituated with this, but not everyone. If I stop now, the man will surely die. She clapped her hands to her mouth and leaped up and ran out of the room. Outside in the garden, he heard her retching. Retching means vomiting, because the entire operation scene, it was something very much uncomfortable for Hannah. So she went out and she vomited outside. But he went on with his work. But Sadao, he was totally absorbed with his work. He went on with his work without paying any attention to outside. It will be better for her to empty her stomach, he thought. He had forgotten that, of course, she had never seen an operation. Now, for the time being, it was out of Sadao's mind. Then he realized that Hannah haven't seen an operation previously. So, definitely, she would be uncomfortable with this. But her distress and his inability to go to her at once made him impatient and irritated with this man who lay like dead under his knife. Now, he can't attend to his wife because Hannah was vomiting outside, and he was in a dilemma because this man had to be saved. And all depends, the life of this man depends on him, how he operates. And he is feeling very irritated because he can't go to his wife who was actually vomiting outside. And this man, everything depends on this man now, because the life of this man depends on Sadao. And rather to say, this line is very important, who lay like dead under his knife. That means the way Sadao will operate, this man will survive. It depends on Sadao how he will operate on him. This man, he thought, there is no reason under heaven why he should live, because he is Sadao's enemy. But still, as a doctor, it is his duty to save a man, whatever it is, whoever it is, because it's a pledge everyone who studies medical science, the doctors, they take, that it is their responsibility to save the life of a patient. They must try till the very end. Unconsciously, this thought made him ruthless, and he proceeded swiftly. In his dream, the man moaned, but Sadao paid no heed except to mutter at him. Now, obviously, when Sadao was doing the operation, this man cried a bit, or moaned a bit, or wailed a bit, but Sadao haven't paid any heed to that. Groan, he muttered, groan if you like. I am not doing this for my own pleasure. In fact, I do not know why I am doing it. Now, as it was the habit of Sadao that he kept on muttering while he does an operation. Now he is muttering that, and from his dialogues, from his muttering statements, it is clear that he doesn't know why he is doing it, but maybe for the sake of humanity, he is doing it. The door opened and there was Hannah again. So the door was opened once again and Hannah came inside. Where is the anesthetic? She asked in a clear voice. Sadao moaned with his chin. It is as well that you came back, he said. This fellow is beginning to stir. Stir means to move. Now, when Hannah came back inside the room, Sadao told Hannah that this man is now moving a bit. That means slowly and slowly he is regaining his life's vitality. Slowly and slowly he is recovering, it seems so. She had the bottle and some cotton in her hand. But how shall I do it? That means, how should I apply the anesthetic on anesthesia? Simply saturate the cotton and hold it near his nostrils. Sadao replied without delaying for one moment the intricate detail of his work. When he breathes badly, move it away a little. Saturate with the help of a cotton and place it near his nostril. And the important thing, he told Hannah that if the man went on breathing badly, then you can do one thing, you can move it away a little from him. So this was the direction that was given by Sadao to Hana while Sadao was operating. He went on operating. She crouched close to the sleeping face of the young American. It was piteously thin face, she thought, and the lips were twisted. The man was suffering whether he knew it or not. Now, by looking at his face, his thin body, Hannah came to the conclusion that this man is suffering. Probably, most probably, this man is unaware of it. Watching him, she wondered if the stories they heard sometimes of the sufferings of prisoners were true. Now, in newspapers also or stories also, she heard that how the prisoners were tortured, how they suffered. Maybe she felt like that those are stories only, but now when she encountered this man in reality, she felt like those stories are true after all. So I continue. Watching him, she wondered if the stories they heard sometimes of the sufferings of prisoners were true. They came like flickers of rumor, told by word of mouth, and always contradicted. In the newspapers, the reports were always that wherever the Japanese armies went, the people received them gladly with cries of joy at their liberation. But sometimes she remembered such men as General Takima, who at home beat his wife cruelly, though no one mentioned it now that he had fought so victorious a battle in Manchuria. Now, the important thing is that Hana uh, heard about the way the prisoners were tortured, but this is the first time she encountered with the gruesome reality, and looking at the thin, troubled face of the young man, it was it. I mean, she already whatever she read previously in the newspaper, it seems that now it is true that these people are actually being tortured. Previously she thought that these are contradictory stories that were published in the news columns, but now after interacting with this man, after watching this man from close quarters, it seems to her that these news are after all very much true. And regarding General Takima, uh, he was considered as a great general by the people, by the Japanese people. But the important thing is that this man beats his wife and indulges in domestic violence. But people, they don't remember him for that. They remember him for his victorious way, on the victories that he achieved in battle in Manchuria. People remember General Takima for that. If a man like that could be so cruel to a woman in his power, would he not be cruel to one like this, for instance? Now, Hana was thinking at the back of her mind, if a person like General Takima, who could be so cruel to his own wife, beating her every now and then, and indulging in domestic violence, so Hana was shivering to think that how cruel General Takima would have been to a person like this, because he is their enemy. So thinking that Shiva, I mean Hana was scared beyond anything, because General Takima, she heard that General Takima used to beat his wife a lot. Okay, indulges in domestic violence, as I told you all a bit earlier. Then she thought that what General Takima, or how General Takima would react if with this man, then if he reacts in such a brutal manner with his own wife, then how would he treat a prisoner like this man? Because after all, he is an American, and after all, he is their enemy. She hoped anxiously that this young man had not been tortured. It was at this moment that she observed deep red scars on his neck, just under the ear. Now, Hannah was hoping that this man hadn't been tortured, but then she noticed that some deep red scar mark on his body, particularly on his neck region, just under the ear. That led her realize that this man was also being tortured. Those cards, she murmured, lifting her eyes to Sadao. But he did not answer because, as it was been told earlier, that Sadao, when Sadao used to do a particular work, when Sadao is to do a particular work, he gets totally absorbed in it. Whatever goes on in the outside world, he never pays any attention to it. He become totally or completely absorbed with his work. At this moment, he felt the tip of the instrument strike against something hard. That means the surgical instruments of Sadao had relocated the bullet inside the body. So see this. At this moment, he felt the tip of his instrument strike against something hard, dangerously near the kidney. All thought left him. He felt only the purest pleasure because he was a surgeon. And whenever the case is very complicated, whenever the operation case is very complicated and challenging, it seems that he gets more interested in it. So he probed with his fingers. Probe means to investigate. Very, very cautiously and with lot of interest. That is the meaning of probed. The probe is the root word, P-R-O-B-E. He probed with his fingers delicately, familiar with every atom of this human body. His old American professor of anatomy had seen to that knowledge. Ignorance of the human body is the surgeon's cardinal sin. Sirs, he had thundered at his classes year after year. He remembered his anatomy professor who used to shout every year in the classes that if you are ignorant of the human body, then obviously it is the most criminal offense on the part of a surgeon. That means you have to know all the important things related with the human body. To operate without as complete knowledge of the body as if you had made it, anything less than that is a murder. You should have a complete knowledge. If without complete knowledge, if you try to operate, then you are committing a murder. So that was the anatomy professor used to give lecture in the class, and Sadao remembered that one. It is not quite at the kidney, my friend, Sadao murmured. It was his habit to murmur to a patient when he forgot himself in an operation. Now he used to murmur. And I already told you earlier, dear students, that while Sadao used to be absorbed in his work, he seems to be interacting with the patient. He seems murmuring while he used to do an operation. He seems to murmur. He always called his patients my friend, and so now he did, forgetting that this was his enemy. Now, what an irony. Now, whenever he used to operate, he used to call his patient my friend. But practically speaking, this man is not his friend, this man is his enemy. Then, quickly, with the cleanest and the most precise of incisions, the bullet was out. So, finally, in a very clinical manner, with the precision of a surgeon's work, Sadao was excellent in surgery, as we know it previously also. That is the reason the general haven't sent him with the in the war with the army. So he was being kept in Japan only, and with the precision he had taken out the bullet. The man quivered, or we can say shivered a bit, but was still unconscious. Nevertheless, he muttered a few English words. Guards, he muttered, choking. They got my guards. Sadao, Hana cried sharply. Hush. Sadao said, hush means be quiet. The man sank again into silence. Maybe the person was about to moan a bit, about to say something, but again, this man was totally silent. So profound means so intense, so deep that Sadao took up his wrist. Hating the touch of it, because this man is his enemy. Yes, there was still a pulse, so faint, so feeble, but enough if he wanted the man to live, to give hope. The pulse rate is very faint, but it is enough. There is a ray of hope. This man will survive against all odds. This is what is written in the last line, very important dialogue said by Sadao. But certainly I do not want this man to live, he thought. No more anesthetic, he told Hana. He turned as swiftly as though he had never paused, and from his medicines he chose a small vial and from it filled a hypodermic and thrust it into the patient's left arm. That means he gave an injection on the left arm of the patient. Then, putting down the needle, he took the man's wrist again. The pulse under his fingers fluttered once or twice and then grew stronger. Slowly and slowly, the pulse grew stronger. It was faint, but when that injection was being thrusted on his left arm of the patient, the pulse grew stronger. This man would live in spite of all. Very important dialogue said by Sadao, that whatever might be the situation, this man will live in spite of everything. He said to Hana and sighed. The young man woke, so weak, his blue eyes so terrified when he perceived where he was, that Hana felt compelled to apologize. She herself served him, for none of the servants would enter the room. Now, obviously, after all this, braving all odds, as Sadao himself told Hana that this man will survive, because after that injection was given on the left arm of this man, of this particular American prisoner of war, slowly and slowly the faint pulse became stronger. So, braving all odds, finally the presumption or the assumption made by Sadao turned out to be true, that braving all odds, this man will survive, and this man did survive. And when this man regained his consciousness, so weak he was, his blue eyes, he was having blue eyes. It was so terrified because he came to an unknown place. But Hana behaved properly and showed a lot of tenderness, affection, and hospitality towards him. She served him herself, for none of the servants would enter the room, and she was the mistress of the house. The servants were actually been given the responsibility to serve the members of the family, but they decided not to serve the white man. They were reluctant to do that, so ultimately Hana take the responsibility on her shoulders to serve this man. So, dear students, page number 36, the first paragraph I did up to this part, for none of the servants would enter the room. Up to this I have done. Please listen to this audio presentation, everyone. And if there is any doubt, kindly clarify. I will continue in my next audio presentation from this page. Dear students, listen to this audio presentation, and if there is any doubt, I repeat it once again, if there is any doubt, kindly let me know about it. Thank you, students. Thank you all.